Just recently, we reviewed the Nissan Livina, where we could not refrain but making comparisons to the Expander for very good reasons. The biggest one would be the fact that they're all built under one global name, the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi Alliance, or just better known as the Alliance. Today, we have a somewhat similar situation, if not with an even stronger bond. This is the 2022 Toyota Avanza, a name that has been around in the Philippines since 2006, a very popular one. Its top-of-the-line version was called the Veloz. However, today, it stands alone. This is the 2022 Toyota Veloz. So, they're twins, but not exactly identical twins. Not like the Olsen sisters, who, quite frankly, share a bottle of water and a saltine cracker and call it a week. They look a hell of a lot better naman than those two. Think of them more as like fraternal twins, like Luke and Leia, except without the brother-sister kissing scene. So it all boils down to one question in two parts. What's the difference in specs and price? Let's have at it. Do you need help purchasing your car insurance? Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph/car-insurance. Here, you can compare prices and customize your insurance coverage from many of the Philippines' top providers. When you've selected the insurance that's best for you, simply fill out the application and complete the transaction with ease through Visa, MasterCard, GCash, GrabPay, or PayPal, and receive your policy within the next business day. Get the best deal on insurance with AutoDeal. The Veloz on its own is Toyota's response to buyers that actually want to get an Avanza but want a little bit more oomph in their purchase, a little bit more premium, a little bit more tech. And with a little bit more, obviously, comes a little bit more coin. However, when I say a little bit more coin, I actually mean, well, quite a bit, a lot. The biggest difference between the two will obviously be the exterior design, which we'll get to a little bit later. But let's start with what really makes them twins, which is what's found underneath the hood. They both have 1.5-liter four-cylinder gasoline engines mated to CVTs that produce 105 horses and 138 newton-meters of torque. Now, depending on what particular mode that you're really driving in, you've got three available inside the Avanza, or rather the Veloz, or the Avanza. See, I get them confused already. And inside the Avanza, you essentially have two, a normal and a sport, whereas here you have an additional eco mode that you can ride on the whole time. But depending on the traffic conditions, you'll roughly get anywhere between 9.5 to 10 kilometers per liter inside the city. And on the highway, you can do much better at 21.5 kilometers per liter. Both have similar shaped headlamps and a large grille to its own right. The Avanza, heavily updated, thank goodness, looks more modern really, with horizontal slats that mimic the design language of much larger cars, like say the Land Cruiser. The Veloz, on the other hand, incorporates a link chain design on its grille with cuts that make it easy to see the similarities to a RAV4. Both have LED headlamps and halogen fog lamps. Now, the headlamps obviously are different in terms of design, but the throw is basically the same. The real difference is how the Veloz actually has sequential turn signals, something that you'd expect from a Lexus, not on a car that costs 1/3 the price, which makes the Veloz a hell of a lot fancier. The Avanza's side profile is, well, more muted, I'd say. You won't find chrome on the sides or roof rails up on top. You will find the same cuts and repeaters on the side mirrors, however. And then you've also got 190 millimeters of ground clearance, 16-inch wheels wrapped in 60 series tires, and then you've got discs up front and drums at the rear to help slow the vehicle down. The Veloz, on the other hand, well, I guess is a little bit louder because yes, it does have the roof rails, it does have chrome on the side, repeaters on the side mirrors, 190 millimeters of ground clearance as well, but much better looking wheels, I would say. These are 17s with 50s wrapped all around them, and then you've got disc brakes not just up front, but at the rear as well. The rear doors and the lights are, again, identical. The only difference at the rear would be, well, some cuts and pieces found on the bottom of both automobiles. Like, for instance, the orientation of the lights are much lower on the Avanza than they are on the Veloz. The largest difference, to be honest with you, would be the fact that there is a break in the park lights on the Avanza. On the Veloz, it continues from one end, stops for the Toyota badge, and then continues all the way to the other side, again making it look much more premium. Now, when it comes to cargo capacity, if you were to assume that they are again identical, then you'd be assuming correctly. Third row in play, you can load about a stroller or a collapsed wheelchair without any issues. Fold the third row down and the second row down, then you've got all that space and more to load balikbayan boxes. We don't have exact figures, but I can tell you that obviously they are identical. Ingress and egress into the third row for both automobiles are identical. There are no dissimilarities with that, as well as the amenities back here, no dissimilarities at all. With that, I can say that you've got two cup holders on either side and just one 12-volt socket found to be shared for the third row. So again, like most 7-seater MPVs, it's good really for if you need an extra 2 chairs. Comfort-wise, it's nothing spectacular. The second row, however, of both automobiles, that's where there's a pretty big difference. Here in the Veloz, I can tell you the advantages that you have inside this automobile is the fact that, well, first, the seat material is quite different. You have leather incorporated into the seats. Not all over, but definitely here in the center and on the sides of the seat, here and up here on the shoulder blades too. You have the same number of ball holders and cup holders, but inside this automobile, there's an extra cup holder found here in the center. And then there's the difference of pockets found on the front chairs that you don't have in the Avanza. Here you've got pockets up on top, as you can see, and then pockets down here. So quite a lot of differences really when you're talking about the Avanza and the Veloz when it comes to the second row. So you've noticed that on the outside, obviously the design is very, very different, although the body shape of the automobile is quite similar. Cargo space is the same, third row exactly the same, getting more changes in the second row. The largest changes and where that money really does come in, that 200,000 or 300,000+ that you're paying for in difference, really will be when you sit up front, and that I'm dying to show you. Let's start with what it is that you can touch. So inside the Veloz, or rather the Avanza, I still get them confused. Inside the Avanza, there is, well, everything is scratchy black plastic. Here inside the Veloz, you've got other materials too, such as this soft touch leather there that gives a nice squeaky sound. The steering wheel feels just a little bit better. The Avanza does have one advantage though when it comes to things that you can touch, which is the fact that here there is piano black plastics, which feels like if you breathe on it, you'll scratch it. In the Avanza, there are none. I guess they were trying to make this look a little bit more premium. By doing so, I'm not so for it. I'd rather get that car in here. But anyway, that's stuff that you can touch. Now, other stuff this time, what you can see. Well, first, the infotainment system. Whereas in the Avanza, you've got analog gauges and a small digital trip computer. Here, it's an all-digital affair, which is actually quite similar to that you can find on the Rays. And then you also have buttons on your steering wheel for your audio and your computer controls. No cruise, though, on either automobile. But then it can be argued that not a lot of people actually enjoy using cruise. I do, but I guess a lot of people don't. You've got a tablet-sized screen here in the sense that it's 9 inches inside the Veloz. Inside the Avanza, it's only 8 inches. And truth be told, this one looks a little bit more modern, like a tablet, so to speak, whereas the other one looks more like an LCD screen, CRT TV kind of thing with a lot of physical buttons that I'm not really a big fan of. And then you've got other things too, like drive modes inside this car, where I can switch through sport, Eco and Normal, whereas in the Avanza, you actually have either Sport or just Normal, and then it defaults into Eco when you're driving economically. Here, you can actually set it to stay on Eco. In the Avanza, you've got a manual park brake. Here, you've got an electronic park brake and hold control as well. And then obviously, because you can see it right here in the center, is a wireless charging pad, which can fit even my phone. I can't find my phone right now, but my phone is the Samsung Note 8, so that's actually big enough to hold the Samsung Note 8. I don't know if it's big enough to hold Jack's phone, which is what is your phone?
XR.
What?
iPhone XR.
iPhone XR. What is that? Like a toy?
What?
I'm kidding. But would it fit here? Hey! Jack's phone fits, and it's just the right size too. Mine is a little bigger, Jack.
You said that so many times already. I'm so sick of it.
It's got other great tech made available, like Toyota Safety Sense, which has auto high beam, lane departure, pre-collision, and a reverse camera with sensors at the rear with a 360-degree view. How about that? In a Toyota. However, it's not all bad for the Avanza because it does have a reverse camera, sensors, and blind spot monitors as well. If you'd like to learn more about the features of each car, we do have a pretty detailed walk around of each and every single one of these automobiles, although there's only 2 of them, which I'm sure that the links are somewhere above or in the description down below. But right now, let's go for a drive. Before we do, sorry, I almost forgot. Do give us a like on this video if you deem it fit, and at the same time, do consider subscribing to our channel because we create these videos just for you. Oh my God, do you see the sweat coming down off me? Wow! And it's September? The driving dynamics of both the Veloz and the Avanza, and we're in the Veloz right now, is obviously going to be very, very similar in the sense that the steering is quite light. It might need a little help to keep it straight when you're on the highway. In traffic, it feels like you need to push it back in once in a while. There's no, let's say, pull back to center as quickly as you would with other automobiles. NVH is, well, I found that the NVH on the highway is actually pretty good. When you're on EDSA though, roads that are a bit more troubled, that's when the noise really starts to come in when you start getting closer to 60 kilometers per hour. Mind you, this is EDSA though. And then there's the thing that I found, my wife and I, Lisa, actually found out that when the car is very light, in the sense that the doors, when you close them, they feel very, very light. And in turn, when it was raining and we were on the highway, we could tell that you could hear the noise not only from the rain falling on the automobile, but you can also hear the rain as you're driving past the road. So NVH between the two is actually quite similar. The difference between the two would be essentially the feel of the acceleration when you're in traffic, not exactly on the highway. See, this particular Veloz has got 3 drive modes to it. There's the Eco, the Normal, and then the Sport. And as I mentioned in the Avanza earlier, that essentially you can switch it into Sport, and then Normal is its default mode. When in Eco, it just tells you that you're in Eco mode depending on how you're driving. Now, I found in the Veloz that when you're in Sport mode, or even when you're in Normal mode, it tends to jump a little bit more. There's a bit more aggression to get going, sort of like the Livina or the Expander, right? Although they have a little bit more horsepower here, but it feels like it's the same. Now, it can get a little bit uncomfortable when you're stuck in traffic. So I found the easiest way to deal with that was actually to put it in Eco mode. And then it's a much more timid drive to keep up with the car in front of you. However, when you are on the highway and trying to keep up with speed, then you're actually better off keeping it in Sport and or in Normal, which again is the advantage of getting this, the Veloz. Comfort for passengers is going to be exactly the same. In fact, whatever it is that you can do inside the Avanza, you can do in here. It's got a sofa mode here too. You've got a sofa mode for your passengers if you have that opportunity to do so, or rather when you need it. I did, however, find that in general, the Avanza / Veloz, both of them is what I'm trying to get at, well, it's about 30 millimeters skinnier than the competitors like the Expander or the Livina. Now 30 millimeters may not seem as much, but Jack and I actually noticed it because then our elbows kind of rub off on each other and we kind of get intimate in the manner that we don't really want to. Jack, stop it, I'm married. Before Jack rudely interrupted me, I was also going to say that the advantages inside the Veloz include, well, the equipment that you have as a driver. For instance, a 360 camera, a much larger screen, you've got electronic parking brake, and you've got more Toyota safety sense, my apologies, Toyota safety sense inside the car for you as well. So overall, it's a richer driving experience. However, like I said, the dynamics of the automobile, that's relatively the same. Oh, and also in addition, like the top-of-the-line Innova that has ambient light, this Veloz has ambient light too. It's pretty cool. Based on looks and just looks alone, you can see where the Avanza and the Veloz do cater to two different buyers. Yes, it's easily seen. The wheels alone, I mean, on the Veloz, they're just an inch bigger, but they are completely different, and it gives the car a completely different look in the sense that it may come off as looking like a soft roader rather than technically an SUV, and whereas the Avanza is more MPV-like. I guess it boils down to the question that anybody will ask me, which is, if given a choice, which would I get? Would I get the Avanza or would I get the Veloz? Oh, and I also must report visibility issues for Jack, who is much taller than I am. Inside the Veloz, we agreed no issues whatsoever. Quarter windows, great windshield, no issues. Inside the Avanza, he found that because the infotainment system sticks out a little bit, it kind of diminishes the space between the infotainment and the rear view mirror. And he found that at stoplights, it was a little bit cumbersome in the sense that you had a hard time seeing the stoplight or the counter for that matter. Again, I guess this is very different between me and Jack because he does have 6 inches on me in height. Get your head out of the gutter, Jack. Get your head out of the gutter, Jack. No, don't say no. If you are in the market to get yourself a reliable MPV from the #1 car company in the Philippines, then truth be told, get yourself an Innova. I'm kidding, of course. If you're looking for something that's sub 1 million Philippine pesos, also from the #1 car company in the Philippines, then truthfully, I would get myself an Avanza. The reason being is that I'm looking for an MPV, something to either move cargo or passengers very easily without any fuss, and I'm not gonna be quite too nitpicky about the automobile, then yeah, the Avanza serves its purpose if you get yourself a mid to low tier variant. Now, if it's something that you want to, let's say for example, indulge in and splurge a little bit, then yes, most definitely the Veloz would be my choice. But see, the price difference between the two is so much that why would I get myself a top-of-the-line Avanza if it's that much closer to just getting yourself a low-end Veloz? So what I'm trying to get at here is that Toyota may have done a bit of a stretch in trying to advertise the Veloz as an SUV. Because truthfully, it's a mirror. It's a brother. It's a sister to the Avanza. But when they said that these two vehicles cater to two very different markets, they weren't kidding. Not at all.